Hello and welcome to my latest walkthrough, which is for Rex Part 2. What you're watching at the moment isn't Rex Part 2, it is Rex Part 1. It is the ending of Rex Part 1. In my previous video, I mentioned that Rex Part 1 has an alternative ending. There's another way you can go at the end that I found after I'd recorded that walkthrough. And I think it's a bit easier. I think going this way is a bit easier. So what I thought I'd do is I'd show that at the start of this video. What I also thought I'd do while you're watching this is give my shout out that I missed at the previous video. When I recorded the previous video, I said I'm a bit rusty. I haven't recorded a walkthrough for a long time, so sorry if I miss anything out. And then I realised I'd missed out the shout outs that I normally give. My intention was always to give a shout out when I did Rex Part 1 to my friend Lee, who I used to play Rex Part 1 with quite a bit. And for Part 2, so this part, my shout out was going to go to Mark, who was a friend of Lee's and of mine, of course, and we used to play loads of Spectrum games together. In my top 100, I mentioned playing Xeno against Lee, and I think he got the upper hand. He was the one who won most often, but Mark used to play as well with us. The other game the three of us used to play loads and loads of was Chaos. We had some great games of Chaos in Lee's bedroom. So while we finish watching this, a quick reminder about Rex. Rex was released in 1988 and came in two parts. Part 1 was on one side of the tape and Part 2 was on the other. The other thing that was on the tape was a demo. The demo was really good actually because it really helped you. It showed you all the weapons and what they could do and how they worked and things like that. Rex was published by Martech Games and written by The Light, who I talked quite a bit about in the last video. The mechanic of the game was that at the end of Part 1 you would get a code, and you put that code into Part 2, and that would then give you the same number of lives and smart bombs and things as you had in Part 1. And you couldn't play Part 2 without the code. Rex also came on +3 disc. I don't know if anyone's got the +3 disc. I'd really love the +3 disc of Rex. Having the loading times and things like that, better loading time for Rex would be really good. So as I said, the first thing that you need to do in Rex Part 2 is put the code in. This code I'm entering now is the code from the previous video and not the one that you've just seen. The one you've just seen might have been better because I had more lives then. Then I redefine the keys to my favourite keys, and off you go. The first thing I'd probably say about Rex Part 1 is that it is much easier than Part 2. So this is Part 2, and the difficulty is ramped up straight away from the beginning. One thing the code doesn't carry across is your weapon energy. So your weapon energy always starts bang in the middle. And with Rex Part 2, you always need, or I always need, one of the smart bombs. There's one room where I always use a smart bomb in Part 2. It comes up in a little bit, it's a little while. But when I haven't played this for a while and I start playing this, one of the hardest things that I find is just getting to the first save point. There's plenty of weapon energy around, so your weapon energy goes up pretty quick. You definitely need a bit of shield energy when you start. If you start with no shield energy, you're almost bound to die. So there's the first save point. Sometimes I find the save points in Rex don't work. I mentioned this in the previous video, but they can be a bit difficult. Now, this is a good demonstration of one of the things that happens a lot in Rex. There are some parts of the screen that you'll find that are safe. So one of the big things to do in Rex is when you come into a screen, try and find a bit that's safe, where you don't need to have your shield on to survive. The enemies are different in Rex Part 2. There are a few different things. One of the first things you notice are those strange growths that are just above me there. And those growths kill you instantly on contact, even if you have your shield on. The thing I've noticed at the start of this is there have been a lot of smart bombs around. You get other things as well. You get those strange kind of rotating rectangles that just appear, and they can be a real pain. The good thing is the growths actually kill the rotating rectangles as well. Coming up, there's a real bit of platform game. Parkour, I guess they call it in modern language. And this next bit's quite difficult. You've got to get your jumps just right, and there are enemies that you've got to kill before you can even do the jump. Yeah, this bit, I remember the first time I saw this screen thinking, how on earth do you do that? And already, I haven't died many times. I'll probably die quite a few times in this walkthrough. It's a long time since I recorded it, and there you go. I'm dead. Yeah, I'll probably die quite a few times in this walkthrough because it is really difficult. There are some bits that you just got to try again and again and again. The good thing is there's plenty of weapon energy. And having the right weapon at the right point tends to be something that you need to do. There are some places where I almost feel it's beneficial if you can just use up one weapon. I really like that one. I really like the kind of rotating balls that shoot out bullets. They're great for the score multiplier, as I said in the last video. Another notable difference in the graphics is that the save points look different. They look different in this game than they did in the last one. Not sure why they did that. There always seems to be a lot more on the screen in this version of Rex. And sometimes you've just got to get things perfect. You've got to get things pixel perfect and get to the right place and be lucky. There's random elements in Rex where the rotating rectangles appear from, for example, is random and when they appear. That was true in the last game to some extent with the humans and things like that, but there are more things in this game to kill you. Right, let's see if I can make these jumps this time. So you jump into this room. You've got to kill those funny respawning blob things and kill all the things that kind of open up and close. Those things that open up and close, you can only kill them, you can only hit them when they're open. You've got to jump from exactly the right point. There we go. And to another save point. And the difficulty really is rammed right up. Strange thing is though, I don't think it ever gets as difficult in this part, in part 2, as it was at the end of part 1. Especially if you didn't use the alternative route that I showed at the start of this video. I love those little caterpillar things. They're quite cool. Now the room after this one is the one that I always use a smart bomb in. It's not too bad dying there because the save point's in the previous room. Oh, those question mark things. Energy loss. Hit those smart bombs. Sometimes discretion is the better part of valor in this game as well. You don't have to kill everything. Remembering you don't have to kill everything is quite useful. The mechanic where if you're on the edge of a platform and you move in the opposite direction, you drop down, still works in this one as well. Now that's useful, but can lead to some unexpected deaths. You can die sometimes with that when you don't really want to. Sometimes it happening's good, sometimes it happening isn't good. You always want full shield whenever you can get it in this game too. So when I go into this next room now, I'm going to use a smart bomb straight away. Always use a smart bomb straight away. I've not worked out how you get through that piece. You probably can with lots of shield. There's another save point. Oh, another question mark. Let's hope it goes good. Another difference as well is because this is a tower, because what you're doing is moving up a tower in this part, you're always going up. In general, from now on, you're just heading vertically up. You don't go left or right very often at all. I like this room. I don't know why I like this room in particular. There's something particularly good about this room. I've decided to take Route 1 again. Don't have to kill everything. I seem to remember when I was recording this, I thought, if I try and kill everything and do this perfectly, I'll probably end up taking ages and ages. So let's just do it as quickly as I can for the video. Hope I got to that save point okay. Hope it's saved there. Now this room is one where you get loads and loads and loads of humans. You get loads of them in this room. You can, if you've got one of the weapons that gives you the multiplier, which this one isn't, the spray one isn't, you can actually get a lot of extra lives in this. But it's not as easy as the part where I showed you in part 1 where you can ramp up loads of lives. I've always got to keep watching out. There's some jumps that you've just got to make perfectly. You've got to keep watching out for all the growths that come out the side, because you hit one of them, and as I said before, even if your shield's on, you're dead. I'm sure I'll hit one at some point during this game. Now this room you kind of have alternatives. You can try and go up the right side or the left side. I think it's easy. I always think it's easier to go up this side. I don't know why you'd bother trying to get up that far side. Now the next room, the room above this, is possibly the hardest room in the entire game. And again, in this one, I think I decide that discretion's the better part of valor and just go for it. If you get to this room and you don't have any shield energy, you're dead. Yeah, I don't think you can do this one without any shield energy. Now, if anyone thinks I'm making this game look easy, believe me, it is not. I like this room as well, mainly because it's after some of the harder rooms below. It's not easy now, but it does feel like there's a slight let up when you get to this part. Well, I've died a lot of times in this room before. I've got those rectangles chasing me. Go away! Oh, that was a mistake. One thing you don't want to do is leave those 3 guys on the right hand side, because they can do you a lot of damage. Well, take a lot of your shield energy. They'll definitely kill you if you don't have your shield on as you zoom up that left hand escalator. It's always worth leaving this room with a full shield. Quite nice to have a room with a regeneration point and a shield generator. I do think the makers of the game were a bit easier on you by giving you those kind of things together. This is a point where it would be much easier if I had the spray. Oops, missed that jump again. One thing that happens, I think it just happened there, sometimes your number of lives is just wrong. The number of live counters, there seems to be a problem with it. It shows 3, I think, when you've got 7. I think it went from 3 to 6 there. I noticed that a few times in this game. Luckily, I finished the last game with plenty of extra lives. See what I mean about this being easier if you've got the spray. Those 2 things die much quicker when you've got the spray like that. I did say I was going to die quite a few times doing this. Not really much trivia to say about this game. I think I've done it all. Be interested in the comments what people think, if people have done this. Maybe someone thinks it's easy. Maybe someone goes, nah, did it first time I tried it. Part 2's really easy. If you do, you're a better gamer than me. Come on, get through this part this time. Decided to leave that piece alone. Again, discretion can be the better part of valor in this game. You don't have to kill everything. We'll kill that now though. I'm still not going out the room without a full charge of shield. The room timer that you can only have so much time in each room applies in this game as well. I like this one. In this room there's 2 recharge points for your shield. Now what I normally do, I think, is just use the shield, and if you hit the shield, if you hit the actual second recharge point with your shield on, you can kill all of the 3 things that are there. There's a drip. Those drips that drip down are a pain. The only thing you can kill them with is your shield. Now actually, we're pretty close to the end here. The next screen is the penultimate one. As I said, Rex Part 2 isn't quite as hard as Part 1. That jump there you've got to be really careful with. You've got to jump forward there. If you jump straight up, you'll hit the growth and die. And you've got some of these blobs to kill. Which I've got the wrong thing again, the wrong weapon for that. The weapon in the wrong configuration. Kill the blobs. Now the last room is quite difficult, but I don't cheat here, but it does seem like a cop-out. What you can just do is activate a smart bomb, and there you go. So we're nearly there. We're nearly at the end. It's quite short, I guess. It's not a long game, part 2. It's shorter than part 1. But you get a nice little message at the end. You blow up the horrible thing. You get a nice little message at the end, and that's it. You've done Rex. And as usual, let's watch all that again, but a bit faster this time. So that's Rex Part 2. I hope you enjoyed that, and until next time, happy gaming!